This is episode 502 on the 1st of April 2022. Metaverse, a travesty and mockery of human interactions. But what exactly is metaverse? It's an online virtual universe. But isn't that contradictory saying online and virtual in the same sentence? We often use this term online and virtual without knowing actually what either online or virtual means. Both these terms are incorrect and used in manners which are grammatically and otherwise incorrect. Where your avatar can interact just the way you do in the physical or an in-person world. Why would I want to interact with someone without moving away from my house? That shows how lazy human beings are. People were already lazy, they didn't want to go outside too often, meet people because they thought going outside would mean using transportation, whether public or private, spending on fuel and other things. And then the 2 years of this whole gimmick called the virus accelerated their laziness. I can sit on my desk, on my backside without moving, and I can interact with people without moving an inch. Well, it's not fun. I've been part of multiple video conferences. It can be useful up to some extent. It has its pros, but it has more cons. Especially if you can meet people face to face. Of course, this discussion no longer holds water in the contemporary times, but the concept of metaverse just makes me wonder what is happening. Yes, we have to move on, we have to adapt to technology, but then our definition of technology has been narrow-minded, that we have a very myopic view of technology. For us, technology means computers, Internet of Things, devices talking to each other, or using tools which make things easy, and the concept of work from home, work from anywhere. Well, there is no work from home and there is no work from anywhere. Of course, it depends from individual to individual and it can just be in the same light. But would I love to interact with someone if I don't move away from my place? I use internet and other tools to interact. There is no fun. If I don't meet someone face to face, if I don't see them in their actual physical form, that is tangible, I don't shake hands with them or I don't talk to them, then the metaverse interaction or the avatar interaction or whatever is the trend right now, it's not weird. That's why it says online and virtual. And of course, these are disruptions. The pseudo media wasn't enough of a disruption where every time I read something on pseudo media, of course, the pseudo media companies are responsible for what is published on their platform. But there is a big but. It's also the responsibility of the individual who publish things. Why do you want to publish something which, in a world where everyone is thin-skinned and they react to the most mundane of things because they have nothing to do? If someone reacts to someone's post or whatever on social media and says what you're saying is wrong, what you're saying is against certain norms, well, the person who said this is at fault, but the person or the groups who reacted, these groups react because they are paid to react. They don't react because they do it out of love for any culture or any such things. They react because they are told if you react, that's how your paycheck will be formed. The more you react, the more you make a mountain out of a molehill. That is, किसी छोटी चीज को बड़ा चढ़ा के बिना बात के उसका पतंगड़ बनाना, which is the USP of human interactions. If we don't make a big deal out of small things, out of the mundane things, human beings simply won't exist. But coming back to this whole concept of metaverse, in-person interaction versus video interaction, well, there is no debate. Of course, 2 years, one interacted with individuals through video calls. It has its good effects. Yes, continued discussions, continued meetings. But when the invitation to in-person is there, if I can meet someone face to face, I can actually talk with them. Why would I want to have a fake interaction? Sitting from my home, talking to someone, or entering the computer like you've seen in movies like Matrix or Once Upon a Time, there was a certain TV show in which the protagonist would stick the guitar and they would be entering this world where they would fight with all kinds of negative influences. And these things look good on TV because TV can exaggerate. TV shows, movies exaggerate things, but in real life, I would never want to use this concept of metaverse, whatever be the advantages, whatever be the pros, or whatever be the reasons why individuals push this. The way we interact for meetings will change. Training will look very different. Imagine you're on an oil rig and you want to see what safety training is actually like. So without going to the actual place, it's like simulation. When pilots are trained in simulation, that's fine. That's training. That is fine. That has been happening for so long. But meeting someone face to face, that is not going away. Not today, not 100 years from now, not in the 21st century, not in the 30th century, not beyond, not before that. It's not going away. Yes, sometimes certain things help because that's just the way humans interact. And then for those who cannot come, for them metaverses work. But then metaverse is once again open to discussion, open to subjective assessment. But for me, whether you call me old school or a dinosaur or whatever be the nomenclature, if I have to choose between meeting someone without actually meeting someone, I can use tools and technologies where I can meet someone, but I'm not actually meeting them, but I'm also meeting them. See, it's confusing. I'm not meeting them, but I'm meeting them because I can see them face to face. There can be a tactile relationship, but it's not exactly a tactile relationship. Of course, it can help in a few things, but then it has made us lazy. That's the way I look at this. It has its pros, it has its cons, but the cons will always outweigh the pros. And then we have been influenced by movies like Star Trek, TV shows like Star Trek, Matrix, where they use certain tools in Matrix. There's the digital avatar of the characters where they are actually in a world where they actually combat the machines or fight with the antagonists. They just use technology where they're sitting in a chair, but they are being transported to another world without actually being transported. They don't move. Only thing that moves is that it's difficult to explain what actually happens in a movie like Matrix. But then it's a movie. Everyone knows it's a movie. It's not real. Such things don't happen. It can take a million years for such things to happen. Star Trek. In Star Trek, there was the concept of hologram, where the characters in their spaceship would use their hologram or virtual reality or augmented reality to enter the timeline they want to be a part of and then interact with people. But they knew that these interactions were not real. They knew that even if they were talking with such individuals, forget the fact that it's a movie, and in movies things are often exaggerated at levels which often make human beings go all nostalgic. If you are nostalgic by watching a movie, then you have a weak constitution. That's all I have to say. A movie is supposed to be enjoyed. A movie can give some kind of education, but it's not supposed to influence an individual. Movies like Matrix, TV shows like Star Trek, Star Wars, maybe 100 years from now, such things will happen in reality. It can happen. But things like metaverses will take time. And then one thing that really puts me off is when we use terms like baby boomer, generation X, millennial, generation Z, generation Y. We are running out of alphabets for that, whether it's Hindi or English. And what is boomers in the mid 40s and mid 60s? Who are the Gen X, mid 60s and early 80s? Who are the millennials, early 80s and mid 90s? And who are Gen Z between late 90s and early 2010s? How was this concept developed? I have no idea, but I don't agree with terms like Gen X, millennials. I don't see the difference. Mindset, maybe. Baby boomers, one doesn't know where that term came from. It still baffles me up to a lot of extent. And then it's the concept of gaming. If I want to play a video game, do I want to be a part of the game when I'm actually being the sports person? Of course, video game is for fun. Gaming is for fun. Whether I play a game on my computer, on my laptop, or I use other tools such as PS3, PS4, Xbox, or whatever. I do enjoy a good video game, but it's for fun. It's to take out time. It's just so that after reading newspapers and doing all the work on the computer, and then there's a time when one
It's
is
9 hours.
thinking, what can one do? Just use that time to have a good video game. It should be for fun. I don't even use the online part of it. I don't play with someone else through the internet. I play it. The video games have been there for so long. So it's just for fun. And when it comes to fun, well, there are a lot of things one can do. Well, it's better to play an actual game instead of playing the video game part of it. But when you cannot meet someone, when individuals are not available to play the actual game, then you play the video game. But if you have individuals who are ready to play, means if I have someone who is ready to play a game like chess, why will I play chess with a computer, or why will I play chess with someone else who's not even present in front of me? I don't know if it's an actual person, if they're actually interested, or if it's just an excuse that okay, I'll play a video game. It doesn't work like that. Metaverse may be a good concept, in some things, but it will never replace in-person interactions. In fact, nothing in the world can replace in-person interaction. Not pseudo media, not emails, not metaverse, not online gaming, nothing, not video conferencing. These are just what one calls substitutes. They were there for a while, and they will continue to be used by individuals who think it works for me because I'm lazy. I don't want to move away from my house. I can sit for hours on hours on the chair. And then what happens? Right now, the concept of metaverse is being appreciated. But after a while, the same individual who were promoting the concept of metaverse, maybe 5-6 years from now, they will say metaverse may lead to problems because you are sitting on the computer, you are watching people through a screen, there is no interaction, the brain is not reacting to the way the metaverse wants your brain to react, and then people will be sad, people will be affected. The same individual will say that in a few years from now, just like 5 years ago, they all appreciated pseudo media, and right now, they look at pseudo media as this thing which makes people unhappy. Nothing in the world can make someone unhappy. I don't use pseudo media, and I don't think not using pseudo media affects me. And if there are something on pseudo media which certain individuals publish, are we supposed to react to that? That's your thought process. If I react to someone who said something negative about something, just ignore it. Can it be ignored? Yes. Can we not exaggerate that thing? Yes. These things can be ignored easily. The ones who react, well, once again, those groups are paid to react because that's what their USP is. Coming back to the concept of metaverse, where your avatar can interact with the way you do in the in-person world. That's the idea. We have copied everything from the in-person world. And then we have created a mindset that meeting people is difficult, it's expensive, transportation is expensive, fuel is expensive. So why do you want to go out when you can do everything from the discomfort of your home? That was fine up to some extent, but it doesn't work all the time. Suddenly, travel has become a negative concept. Traveling through airplanes means using of greenhouse gases. Don't travel. But then there will always be a group who will be having a pseudo concern for the environment because that's what they are here. But that's the virtual world, or the world where things are not what they seem to be. But the world where things are what they seem to be is the Women's World Cup finals. And it's not surprising that Australia reached the World Cup final by beating West Indies, who made it to the final because another team lost and they made it on points alone. And then it was always a question of South Africa versus England. And England, after losing their first 3 matches, it's been called the comeback of the women's game, where they won 5 consecutive games to make it the finals of the World Cup. And now it's Australia taking on England in the Women's World Cup finals. And once England made 295 yesterday in their match, South Africa were never going to chase it. So South Africa erred by bowling first. I think bowling first is now a concept which doesn't have any kind of backing. Sometimes you're able to chase down targets, and that's just luck, but most of the time you are not. I was surprised when South Africa decided to bowl first. It did surprise me, knowing that you're against a decent team who have nothing to lose. So better would be to bowl first, bat first, score decent 260, 270, which is good enough in a semi-final in a women's game, and then whatever happens from there. But just like the men's team, the women's South African team have never made to the final of World Cup. Now the question is, the England's women's team have made to the final, the Australian women's team have made to the final. Which team has a better chance? Well, both teams have nothing to lose. One is the defending champion looking to win consecutive World Cups. One has won before and maybe looking to get back and earn a championship trophy. It's a 50-50 situation. Of course, when you reach the finals, two of the best teams reach the final no matter what their journey was. No matter the struggle, they clawed back, they won 5 in a row. It doesn't matter now. What they did is in the past. It's there for people to see. That's how things are, and that is real world. That's actually athletes interacting with each other, actually playing face to face. Imagine this kind of a tournament played in the metaverse form. It would be no fun. It would be difficult to create. It's expensive. Face to face interaction is the most economical interaction one can have. It's the most substantial interaction one can have. Of course, there will be individuals who will say face to face doesn't work in the modern world. I have no idea what the term modern world means. When it comes to this particular tournament, Australia versus England, Women's World Cup final, of course, the excitement won't be there in this part of the world because India is not part of the tournament. So you may not have that many viewers, but it will be interesting because two teams who have done well in the group games or a team which had its share of up and downs, but that's in the past. Here you are, how you reach the finals, that's irrelevant. You can win, of course, the logic says Australia, emotion says England. With logic, Australia has the team, they have the all-rounders, the batters, the bowlers to do the job. England has the emotion behind them. They have the defending champions tag behind them, a bit of pressure over there, and then they know that if they are in a hole, they can climb from it and emerge as winners. So semi-finals, finals, interesting match, 1 month of interesting tournaments. But here comes another question. What happens if the match is totally rained out? Rain will always be a factor, and I don't think the governing body has a backup date for the tournament. What happens if the tournament is rained out? Means no tiebreaker possible and no 5-over match also possible because there will be a cut-off time. It's a day and night match, but there will be a cut-off time. What happens if it rains? And will the trophy be shared? It won't be fair for anyone. So that will be a very interesting thing on the part of the governing body, knowing that there is no reserve date that they can have the final on another date. At least not in my knowledge is there a reserve date for this tournament. So what will happen if the entire match is rained out? If the rains go beyond the time, is the cutoff time of the tournament, which means tiebreaker is not possible, a shortened game is not possible. That's always a possibility. The second possibility is that it could be a match where not a speck of rain in the sky, clear blue skies, 25 degrees, good enough. But rain cannot be counted out, especially in countries like New Zealand, South Africa, Australia, England at this time of the world. Should the governing body have taken into account the rain factor? Yes, they should have. Is it too late to discuss that? Probably. But then comes the question, who will win the men's 50 over and 20 over World Cup? The 50 over World Cup still 16 months away, the 20 over World Cup 7 months away. As the advertisements often say, anything is possible in 7 months. But the 20 over World Cup is happening in Australia, and let me tell you, rain will play a huge role. So let's presume that the governing body has dedicated reserve days, especially for the knockout games. Otherwise, it will be a travesty as far as the tournament is concerned. Who will win? I let my listeners answer that question. Logic dictates Australia, England, New Zealand because they are former semi-finalists, finalists, and champions. Emotions might say a team from the subcontinent, any of the four teams. So the dice will be loaded in favor of the biggest country in the subcontinent, one which we are a part of. But then at the performance in the 20 over World Cup, saying that India can win both, well, a few individuals may laugh their hearts out. They could be rolling on the floor saying, are you serious about saying that India can win both the tournaments? Well, I don't know. They can, they have the pedigree, they have the team, they have the all-rounders, and you never know what happened on that day. You have 12, 13 teams, all 12, 13 teams want to win it. Of course, we are still hungover by the gimmick performance in the 20 over World Cup where the team was knocked out in the group stage after controversial first two matches. But then that's the nature, that's the way people remember things. And the pseudo media, the print media, the electronic media, the digital media will not make it easy. Once the 20 over World Cup starts, there is an obsession to do a SWOT analysis of every team, and what will be the SWOT analysis of the Indian team? Inconsistency, which was a terminology used for other teams. We were so hungover by the loss to a neighboring country that we forgot the 12-1 sweep. Of course, it's the same when Undertaker had a 21-0 sweep and he lost to Brock Lesnar, and that reset all the statistics. So a 12-0 streak doesn't matter if you lose one match. 13 matches, 12 wins, 1 loss, and we are, of course, you lose, we are hungover by it. I'm not going to get into that debate because whoever is practicing that idea, well, they will have to reset their brain. episode number 502 on the 1st of April 2022, and I will be back with episode number 503 on the 4th of April 2022.